Alright you guys, so this is an update on the aquaponics system. Kind of bring you guys through and show you where we're at. So basically, we can use this tank as a generalization to show you what's happening in all of them. So we have the IBC tote, and then the water's filled up in here. You can see some of the fish in there. We've just fed them, so pellets, fish swimming around. So essentially what's going on in here is we have, each of these tanks have 10 tilapia in here. These 10 tilapia we're gonna harvest. 10 mixed tilapia. This is when they went in, this is when they're coming out. They're gonna harvest at about £1 a piece. So right now they're eating a mix of pellets and duckweed and azolla, and you can see some of their little poo floating around right here. So what happens is their poo goes to the bottom, and then if it gets too crazy, I have a shower head drain right here and a pump that goes out to a ball valve, and that can connect to a pump. If you look, every single one of these tanks has the same setup, and it all goes around to, oops, these ball valves here. We've got one there, there's one over here. You can see all the ball valves, and it all comes down to here. Turn that on, open it up, turn the pump on, and you leave the pump on for a few seconds, and it sucks all the poo out of the whole system, and we can use it to feed whatever, your plants, whatever you want to do with it. So that's the little shower drain feature right here. Normally what happens is the poo, most of it will break down and get into kind of a liquefied form, and then if you look over here, we have this mag drive recirculating pump, and that is going to pump it up into there, and that goes straight up here, tees off to all the tanks, and you can see that comes off. It's got a ball valve to adjust the flow. The water flows down from the fish tank into this. There is a I use this Scotch-Brite scrubber pad here, like you would use on your dishes, and what happens is if there's any leftover poo, it comes up the solid, it'll collect right there, and every day I come out and squeeze that out. But all the stuff that's not solid, all the liquefied poo, which is essentially fertilizer, goes in here, and these tanks will fill up, and then the pump kicks off, and then they drain back down through this here. And in that water, you have the liquid nutrients that collects into the gravel here and feeds the microfying bacteria, which helps kind of condition the water for the fish, and all those nutrients go to feeding the plants. And that's kind of in a nutshell how it is. You can take off this and look down here. We have what's called a standpipe, and without getting too crazy, that basically creates a siphon, and that's how that works. You keep it from overflowing. So as far as the plants go, we've got, I believe, eggplant here, purple bell pepper, tomatoes, zucchini. There's a lot of different plants in here, like basil, you can have red bell pepper here. And so after we set up the tank, we ended up having a little problem with some aphids, which are kind of like a little pest. Anybody who's done gardening, you're probably familiar. So if you look on the bottom of these, you can't really see too bad, but if you look, okay, so like right here, that's an aphid. And there's lots of ways to get rid of them. Probably the most organic, friendly way to get rid of them is going to be ladybugs. And you can buy ladybugs, but they're a little expensive to ship. So we went the natural route, and we got some marigolds and just some other pollinators. And basically, these marigolds will attract ladybugs. They'll come here because of these, and then the ladybugs eat the aphids. And that's kind of how that system works up. And I even have a little chart here So this is the little standpipe thing right there, and then we have each of the plants here, and we can say, okay, all right, that's the plant in the corner here, write it down, that's what that is. And so easy to maintain, easy to take care of. You just feed them. I feed them twice a day right now, and that's how that works. So that's the basics of that system. So now if you look in here, you can see that water flowing down. So right here is another mag drive pump, and that's pulling the water out of that tank. It goes up here into this tank, right? And this is our large stock tank. So the other tanks have 10 tilapia in it, whereas this one here is going to be able to have 40 tilapia in it. Now 40 tilapia at a pound a piece is quite a large bio load with all the poo and stuff, which is good because it's more fertilizer, but it's also more poo that you have to manage. So if you look in here, also this is a plexiglass viewing window that I cut out and sealed and all that. You look in here, we got the same shower type shower head deal, but what that's going to do is it pulls the poop up from the bottom of the tank here. It goes up, and then as it reaches that level in the middle of the pipe, it's going to gradually flow this way because water takes the path of least resistance. This is just for airflow right here, keep the siphon going. And so let's follow this along. So we're flowing here, flowing here, flowing here, flowing here into this tank right here. And this tank is called a radial flow settler. So if we open this tank up right here and continue to follow the water, remember we're here, it goes down through here, and then the water gradually flows up. And this one isn't finished yet. We want to take a 6-inch PVC to go over the top of this, and essentially what's going to happen is, as you saw that water bubble right there, so the water is going to flow up with all the non-dissolved solids, basically the fish poo still in it floating. It's going to come up, it's going to want to float out, but it hits the wall of that 6-inch PVC, and then it starts to flow down and gets slower and slower until it flows all the way down and collects at the bottom. Now those are where the solids are going to collect there at the bottom, but the water is going to go up and overflow through here. So essentially it's a stage of filtration where you're collecting all the undissolved solids at the bottom and returning the water through here. And we have this right here. We can just stick a 5-gallon bucket under this, open this up, all the undissolved solids will be in here, and you can water your garden with that. So if we continue along, like I said, this is called the radial flow settler. This flows into the bioreactor. So water comes in here, goes through here into here, and it's a little difficult to see what's going on in here because a lot of it is buried. But you've got a pipe, you've got a 90. This 90-degree pipe goes all the way down to basically a reservoir, which is a Kenwood water jug that I cut a bunch of holes in. And then it goes down, flows out of that Kenwood water jug, and then is forced to flow up and make contact with all of these ceramic biomedia. Now these are a really porous media type, and it has a lot of surface area for bacteria to grow on. Again, that nitrifying bacteria. And that is what makes the water better for the fish, and it also kind of frees up more of the nutrients for the plants. And so it makes contact with all this stuff, then it overflows, comes into here, and we have 2 overflows because remember we have a 2-inch overflow here. And the reason that I went with 2 1-inches, which overflow back into that tank, is because I had a very small opening. I didn't want to cut another hole in the tank and use a bulkhead and all that stuff. So 1 2-inch is the same flow rate as 2 1-inches. So these are overflow. They're all going to a downward slope, and they're returning back into this tank, which, oops, back up here, which basically completes the circuit. So up from that tank to this tank, from that tank to that tank, from that tank to that tank, that tank to that tank, and that is a closed loop right there. So we essentially, we have a closed loop here, and we have a closed loop here, and these all work together. And that allows us to have 40 50, 60, 70, 80. So we have 80 pounds of tilapia per each system here, and all these plants, and this actually provides enough nutrients to have, I would say, at least another 3 grow beds somewhere else fed by this if we wanted to. And I'll kind of take you back and show you how this works. So there's your pump that goes up and all that stuff. Each of these tanks, you can see, have electrical wires coming out of it because of the pumps and heaters and such. So all these electrical wires flow over to here and the drip loops, which goes up into this waterproof case here. And in that waterproof case, we've got timers and sorts that control the pumps and everything else. Those flow over, the wires all go over to here. And over here we have all your electrical boxes going to your main box over here, and your main box over here going to your solar panel. So essentially, yes, all these can be powered completely off grid. Over here we've got a peach tree growing with some mint cover crop underneath of it, and I have 2 of the mini harvest beds here, and these are currently filled up with duckweed. We do duckweed and azolla, and essentially what this is this is used fish water mixed with some hydroponic nutrient, and then we put duckweed or azolla in here. The duckweed and azolla propagates, fills up this whole tank. Then we're able to harvest 50% of this, take it, and we feed it to our fish, our chickens, our ducks, our goats. All of them love this stuff, and so this is completely closed loop. It's fed by the nutrients that we produce. It makes the plants go to feed the fish, so it's all closed loop. And like I said, that is one system right here. This row essentially is one system, so we have enough to start one here, one here, one here, one here, and then we're going to have another different system right here. So what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different aquaponics systems, and what, 80 fish a piece, so you do the math. This is also a large rainwater catchment system that I built to cover all this. So the rainwater comes down here and goes over to this gutter system on top of this connex, which travels over here to our large rainwater reservoir, and our rainwater reservoir is what we use to fill up the fish tanks. So hope you guys enjoyed it. As you can see, I've been really busy and much more to come. This is just the aquaponics system. Across the way, I am actually working on a aquaculture system where we're going to be raising just tilapia and catfish, and then that next to that aquaculture system we'll be using crack key method hydroponic system. So essentially kind of the same thing, except for not all together. One fish, one plants. And then this is our OG one, the first one we did. And so this one here is kind of similar to the setup I showed you. We got a lot of, I believe it was oregano in here. And I think this is chives. I don't remember which one this is, but lots of stuff in here. And then down in here, I don't know if you can see, but we got some catfish. So hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll keep you posted with updates.